Melissa shares her journey from accidental photographer to systems and workflow consultant. In this episode, while I interview Melissa, she emphasizes the importance of implementing systems and workflows early in the business to ensure that you have the possibility of scaling your business and improving efficiency. Melissa recommends investing on a CRM and customized workflows to reflect the brand and voice of your business. She also highlights the benefit of using project management tools and integration automations in workflow. Melissa advises starting small and customizing workflows as the business evolves. And we ended up the conversation by encouraging photographers to embrace the business side of their profession and utilize automations to enhance the client experience. A lot of great tips on this one. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today I have Melissa Rich with me, and she claims that she is just like you and me. She's another accidental CEO. So we're going to hear her story today and get all her tips about all kinds of good things that you can use on your business. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're very welcome. Tell us about you. What do you do? Where you're located? All the good stuff.
Sure. So I am located in Kansas City, Missouri. That's the easy part, right? Right smack dab in the middle of the states. What do I do? Currently, I am a workflow and systems consultant and specialist. So I help small business owners, mainly photographers, get their CRMs and project management tools and all those workflows and automations up and running. Previously, I was a wedding photographer for 15 and a half, almost 16 years with my husband. So
Wow.
It's been kind of a curvy path, if you will.
How did you end up in photography? Was that something that was your first career, or is it transition to photography and now to systems and workflows?
It's been a hilly, curvy, mountainous path, if you will. So I wound up in photography on accident. It started when I graduated college years ago. My first job was in corporate IT on a process management team, where I started to learn about workflows and process improvement and change management and all that corporate, super unsexy stuff, right? While I was working that job, my then boyfriend was a photographer, and he slowly started to have friends ask him, "Hey, can you shoot my wedding?" You know how this goes, right? "Hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do that for me?" And so he started to do those things, and he is ADHD and dyslexic. And so he said, "Hey, can you tag along for this meeting and take notes for me? Or can you proofread this email? Or can you come with me to this wedding to hold camera gear?" And slowly it turned from proofreading an email to holding camera gear to I need a second shooter and nobody's available. You're going to help me shoot this wedding today. To that evolved to teaching him myself how to shoot. I became his the other primary shooter in our business. I left my corporate job to run our photography business full-time, became a full-time wedding photographer, which I never would have pegged in my bingo card when I was like 15. You know what I mean? Never saw that one coming.
Yeah.
And so we did weddings together for 15 years, I want to say, from the time we started our business until the time we closed it down. The pandemic hit, right, as it hit everybody, and it just annihilated our weddings and our event photography brand. We have another brand as well, too. And so during that time, I started picking up some work as a virtual assistant to bring money in. And I was like, oh, I really like this, right? But I found that the clients that I liked most were the ones that had me helping with their CRMs and their project management tools and their systems and workflows. And so my business was born, and about a year and a half ago, we closed down our wedding photography business so I could do this full time.
Awesome. What does your husband do now full time?
He is still a photographer. So his big dream was to always be like a sports and event photographer and travel the country shooting big sports like the Super Bowl and the World Series and all of these events. And so he is living his best kid dreams come true. That's what he's doing right now. So it's been really fun to watch him on that journey also.
Oh, that's great. So I want to backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about that transition from corporate job to photography. How scary was that? How did you plan? Did you plan for that? Was it like a spur of the moment? Let's talk through that a little bit.
It was terrifying, right? It happened the summer that we bought our first house also, right? So we each had full-time jobs, and then our photography business was our side hustle. And it got to a point where we were like, something has to give. We either have to stop being photographers and close this side of our business down, just like close the business down completely, or one of us needs to leave our full-time job and make the jump and do this full time so that we can actually make something of it, right? Well, since I'm the one that did it and loved all of the behind the scenes business building, client communication, things like that, it was me. I took the leap first, and that was intentional because we wanted to make sure that the foundations of our business were solid and the marketing was solid and in place before Kyle, the creative, left. I still to this day remember the conversation with my manager at my corporate job, right? He was like, but have you thought about how much money you're going to have to make up for leaving here? Have you thought about health insurance? I'm willing to triple your salary to keep you, right?
Wow.
All of these things to try to keep me in this role that was slowly killing my soul, right? Because they wanted me to carry a secondary phone and work overnight shifts and things like that. And those were not things that I wanted to do. So it was never intentional. I mean, I would say that it was never intentional, to be honest with you. It just happened. And when it happened, it was like a leap of faith. It was that terrifying. We were sitting on the deck of our new house having pizza from the new local pizza place. And we were like, are we going to do this? I guess we're going to do this. Let's find out if it works, right?
But were you at that time making as much money as you were on your corporate job or close to it? Tell me about those numbers a little bit, because that's what scares people a lot.
Right. And it's terrifying. I would say combined from our daytime jobs, we were making about $75,000 a year. And then our photography business was about 50 to 60. Right. That's where we were sitting with our photography business. And so we were not quite at that full-time aspect, which is why we both didn't leave at the same time. Right. I had the higher paying job. And so you'd think I would have been the one that stuck around for a little bit. But again, we wanted to make sure we had the basis and the foundations of our business in place and solid before Kyle, the creative, left. He will be the first one to tell you that he is the more creative one of the two of us. Mm-hmm. He left. So working together with your partner, right? You have lanes that you stay in if you want to not murder each other in your sleep, right? Like that's just how that goes. He'll be the first to tell you finding those lanes for us was really, really hard. But all of the, like I said, all of the behind the scenes, the business running, the systems, the operations, the client communication, that was all my lane. And so knowing we had that in place made us feel a lot better about making that leap, if you will.
Yeah, never easy. It's always a scary place to leave what people classify as a steady job, right? A lot of times to moving to something that I feel like a lot of people just don't understand how you can make money with photography and you can have a very successful business. And it was something I didn't understand. I had no clue, no idea that this could be its own thing. I have a doctorate degree.
Oh my goodness.
For a long time, work in a corporate world in healthcare for a long time. And in to shape or form I ever imagined that photography was something that was a viable option for to stay in my life and take care of myself and my kids. And, here we are.
Right. Never. You don't think about it. You don't think about it at all until it starts to become a real option. And then you're like, oh, I can maybe do this. Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
What skills did you think you were able to transfer from your corporate job into your photography job?
For sure the organizational part, right? For sure the organizational part. That was everybody had a file and everybody had a Lightroom catalog and everybody had their Dropbox file and our CRM was set up. So everybody had their own space in our business. And so that for sure came into our photography business for my corporate job. But outside of that, not much else, to be honest with you, because sales like IPS was not something. I'm a horrible salesperson. I will be the first to admit it to this day. Horrible. That was something I had to learn brand new, right? Photography, that wasn't part of my corporate job. That was something I taught myself as well too. And honestly, communication and email, while I am a great communicator, it has taken me, a decade now to lose some of the corporate abruptness that you learn in the corporate world. You know what I mean? Like corporate messaging is so short, straight to the point, get it done, get it out of the way. And working with clients, especially wedding clients or family clients, you have to add so much, you know what I mean? Like flower, you have to nice things up and not be quite so short. So there's a big learning curve. We had a lot of things in place, but there was a big learning curve.
Absolutely. What did you think it steered your heart more towards the business side of things versus the photographing?
To this day, I can hold my own. I could shoot a wedding on my own and be perfectly fine, deliver a full gallery of images, but I've never identified with being a photographer, right? That's always felt like a costume that I put on. I knew, however, that if I relied on the systems and the processes and things like that I put in place, if we executed the marketing plan according to the plan, then things would work, right? The creativity side was not something that I could rely on in myself. I could rely on Kyle for that, but not for me. I'm the opposite of so many people, right? They know they're an amazing photographer, right? It's everything else that they have to figure out. And I found myself in the exact opposite situation of that, which is really strange. You know what I mean?
I'm with you, girl. I'm a lot more into the business side of things. I mean, I love photographing, and I think it's amazing, and it's a great gift that we can give to people. But sit me on the computer, I'm good. Like doing stuff, working
Let me edit some photos, write a blog post, whatever it is.
I love it. Which is why, the whole mission of my education business and, even this is like how people kind of fall in love with the business side of their business and see that there are fun and creative things that you can do in that arena of your business as well.
Oh my
gosh. Not just photo taking.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like in regards to that, like the marketing opportunities that are out there now that didn't exist before, there's so many creative things that you can do in that aspect of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about people that are in the beginning of their career. What are some of the systems that you think people should invest their time and money into when they're at the beginning? Because I'm going to talk about people that are well established, but I want to start with people that are at the beginning of their career.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, a CRM, right? A client relationship manager. And I say that knowing that for the first 3 years of my photography business, I ran that business off of an Excel spreadsheet saved to my desktop, right? There were no email templates, right? Those eyes got real big there. There were no email templates. There were no automations. There was nothing because I didn't think that my little business needed any of that big fancy stuff, right? That was for the real professionals, or that was for the bigger businesses. When in all reality, by the time I did implement those things into our photography business, that's what saved me. And so many new business owners, I think, have that same mindset of, oh, I don't need that yet. I can keep track of it all. It's just me. I don't have enough clients. You don't need systems until you need systems. And then when you need them now, and you need to have them built and set up. So for sure, investing in a CRM. A lot of new photographers, it's hard to bite the bullet and invest in systems that are done for you. And so I think investing in a workflow template from a trusted educator is a great thing to do, as long as you take the time to make it reflect your brand and your business, right? Don't just implement the email word for word. You got to update that baby to make it reflect you and your voice. But for sure, those things, at least at the bare minimum.
Perfect. Yeah, I always talk about, the same concept of dressing for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So in the beginning, when you don't have the high volume of people knocking on your door, that's where you need to take the time to build those CRM systems and put the time into building all your templates and building your contracts and building your workflow. So when you do have those clients coming in, you're ready to roll. Most people do the opposite. They wait till they're too busy and they don't have time to put into developing good systems with good quality communication. And then they're scrambling to catch up all the time because they waited too long.
You are so right. Build systems before you need them. I like to say, and the same can be said for like photographers, because we all have a busy season, right? For photographers, they're in busy season versus slow season. Slow season, you who gets enough sleep and eats correctly and takes care of yourself, builds systems and workflows so that busy season, you who is not sleeping, who's up till 2 a.m. editing and has had so much caffeine in their body, can function relying on those systems, right? It's the same thing for new photographers. you build them knowing that they're going to evolve and change as your business evolves and changes.
That's perfect. So let's say I am a well-established photographer. I have a CRM. Things are flowing. What are some of the maybe systems or other things that I can potentially start looking into to upscale my business to take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorite things to chat about. Honestly, it is customizing those workflows, right? If you're not using automations, because I know automations can be so scary, invest in somebody to help you set those automations up. Outside of that, my favorite thing to help people implement into their business and something that I think every business owner needs is a project management tool. And again, that's one of those things where, oh, I'm just a photographer. I don't need a project management tool. That's for like a big company. I don't have projects. I keep track of all of that in my head, right? Oh my gosh, a project management tool, even a free version of one. Shoot, I operated off a free ClickUp sign in until like 2 months ago in my own business, right? Even a free version of it will help you make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, that you are sticking to your editing deadline, that you are sticking to your content planning, that you're reaching for your goals, that none of your big ideas are falling into the cracks. It can help you with so many things. And it's one of those things that you're like, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. Once you start living with it, you can't live without it.
Hey there, are you a creative professional looking to elevate your business and artistic vision? Discover the transformative power of personalized coaching tailored specifically for creatives like you. During the sessions, I dive into the unique challenges and goals for your specific business, especially as a creative entrepreneur. That's very important because what you do, it is special and it is different than everybody else. You're going to break through some mental barriers and cultivate a mindset that really nurtures the creativity and resilience of your business. We're going to enable you to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That is my goal for you. If you're ready to embark in an amazing journey of one-on-one coaching with me, hop over to accidentalceo.co and let's get you to be the CEO that you're meant to be. What are some of the project management tools that are out there that you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I have found that visual photographers specifically are very visual people, right? Clearly, that's what we do. We create photographs. A lot of photographers tend to like Trello, and it works really well for them because it's all visual, right? You create things on a board, and then you move these little tiles that have your client's name on them or this step down through your workflow, right? So Trello is great. I am a ClickUp girl myself. I love ClickUp to the end and back. It's a tool that was designed to be able to do anything and everything, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it means there's a big learning curve, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people love Asana. It's very similar to ClickUp in the way that HoneyBook and Dubsado are alike. And then a lot of people that I know really enjoy working in Notion, which is like document based, right? So it's all kind of like a big, massive Google Doc that you embed tables and lists and things like that into.
It feels a little bit dry to me. There's like just too much going on in that one thing.
Right? Exactly. That's why Trello is so great because you can add photos, you can brand it, you can zhuzh it up a little bit. You know what I mean? You can make it a fun place to live and work.
Yeah, I like Trello and ClickUp a lot. Those are definitely some good go-tos that have a free version that I feel like fits the needs of most people. So,
oh my gosh, absolutely.
You go and spend some money right away. You can try it out and see which one do you feel like fits the best to your business. Is there any integrations that you've used and have recommended to people?
Oh boy. So I'm a big fan of if you're starting out, okay, this is going to be kind of like hypocritical, right? But if you're starting out when it comes to picking your tools, you want to make sure that the tools you pick will integrate with each other. What do I mean by that? It means that like Dubsado integrates with QuickBooks naturally, right? If you can avoid third-party tools to integrate your other tools like Zapier, go for it. That's going to be one less tool that you have to connect, right? But I love using Zapier with Dubsado and ClickUp to connect those things in my own business and in our photography business. You can use Zapier. It's a third-party tool that's made to connect tools that don't natively talk to each other, right? You can use it to connect so many things. Like when a client signs a contract in your CRM, have it create a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder with that client's name on it so you don't have to do it. That's a really great integration that I love using for a lot of All of my businesses, both of my businesses. Absolutely.
Perfect. With the clients that you work with, what is the number one struggle that they come to you with?
The number one struggle, honestly, the number one struggle is that most of them come to me. Most of the people that I work with have been in business for either under 3 years or over 15 years, right? There's this weird gap, right? It's one spectrum or the other. And so, depending on where they're at in their business, let's go with new business owners in this case, right? Most new business owners come to me and they say, I know I need a CRM. I have a CRM. I know I need workflows, but I don't know what needs to go in them. And I have no idea how to build them once I figure out what goes into them. Right? Because you get all this education and you go to these conferences and everybody talks about this great client experience and how you have to have an excellent client experience to build rapport and to increase sales. Nobody tells you what that looks like. Nobody tells you what goes into that client experience or how to actually execute it. Right? And so many people are like, I know I need this, but what goes into it? And how many times do I reach out to my client? And what do I automate? And how do I actually build the workflow so that they work for me? That's the biggest problem I get. And then on the flip side of that, for the experienced photographers that I work with, a lot of them are like, listen, I've been in business for 15 years. I know the steps that I need to take. I also am tired of keeping it all in my head, and I know it needs to not live there. So we need to make these things happen. And they know the exact workflow steps they want to make happen. And we just need to like put the automations and workflows together for them.
What are some of the main things, maybe like 2 or 3 things that every workflow needs to have?
Oh, great question. Oh my gosh, I love this. Oh, if I had to pick three, right? If I could only pick three, the first would be an autoresponder. I'm a big fan of this, and a lot of people don't use it. An autoresponder is something that's going to get sent out to your clients as soon as they fill out a lead capture form that's ideally from your CRM embedded into your website, right? Then when your clients pick out your service, what service are you interested in? I'm interested in families or weddings or seniors or maternity, whatever it might be. That kicks off a workflow. The first step of that workflow should be an autoresponder that says, hey, we got your message. We're checking our calendar for availability. We'll get back to you soon. In the meantime, here's where we can connect, right? That lets you get back to that lead immediately while they are still hot and excited about working with you. It confirms that their message actually went through, because how many times have we filled out a form and been like, okay, well, I hope that went through, right?
Yeah.
So an autoresponder, even if everything else in your workflow are things that you manually do, have that autoresponder turned on so you get back to your clients, right? Also, the other two are going to be kind of happen right around shoot day, right? So I like to send out a happy, in this case, let's do weddings, like a happy wedding week email. It's essentially a confirmation to the client of, hey, I'm so excited to work together. Here's what time I'll be showing up. Here's where I'll be arriving. Here's when these things are going to happen. And then here's when my coverage will be finished and what detail I'll be wrapping up with, right? Send that out to your client a week before their wedding day. That way they know, oh, they're all over it. I know exactly when to expect them, exactly what to expect from them, and this is when they're going to be done. That way there are zero questions, doubts. It makes them feel better. You're not getting frantic messages from your client. What time? Where? What do I need to bring? Anything like that. And you can use that for family shoots or maternity shoots, or pick something. You know what I mean? As long as you customize it. On the flip side of that, I also love a thank you email or a day after message that goes out the day after the shoot. And again, this can be a fully automated thing that's just like, hey, thank you so much. We had the best time ever. If it's a family shoot and the kids were crazy, your kids are so sweet. I can't wait to see how these moments turned out. You know what I mean? Reassure them that they had the best shoot, because they're probably like, oh man, I hope they got something, right? So reassure them. And then in that same message, say, I'm working as fast as I can on your photos. Here's when you can expect the gallery, right? Again, that's preemptive on your part, because you're reassuring your client everything went well, that the photos look great, but also reminding them of when photos will be done. So you're not getting those text messages. Hey, when are photos going to be done? Hey, when are photos going to be done? That kind of thing. So those are my 3 must-haves.
That's great. Those are amazing tips. And it all kind of revolves around communication and setting expectations to your client, which is a lot of the times what helps us avoid any kind of misconception or people not being happy about things because they know what's coming. You talk to them before, you confirm the date and the location and everything that's going to happen. You right away said, thank you, that was a great session, I'm going to be working on their things. And you don't have to actually do that every single time. The system and the workflow is doing it for you. So that's the beauty of utilizing the power of those systems and workflows to facilitate your life, save you time, making things more efficient, and just elevating your client experience in general.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Have you ever came across somebody that is using maybe too many systems and workflows, and they're now spending more time actually managing all these things than doing the job that they want to do?
Yes, absolutely. That happens a lot. And I'm guilty of that as well, too, in my own photography business, right? There was a point when it was really like, okay, Melissa, you got too much going on. Let's dial it back a little bit. But yes, I've worked with people, with photographers who can't decide on a CRM, if you will. And so half of their clients are set up in CRM A and half of them are in CRM B. And then another few of them are here or there, right? And so they're trying to juggle all of those, right? It seems like every few months there's a new tool that comes onto the market that everybody wants to try, right? It happens to all of us. And I'm the first to be like, okay, let's try this out, see what this looks like. Do I need to move everything? Here's the thing about that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If your system is functioning great for you, let it function great for you. The key to using systems and automations in your favor is going to be the customization aspect of it, though, right? So like when you're writing these emails to your clients, make sure it's in your voice, how you would talk to them if you were having a conversation face-to-face with them. That's going to keep things from sounding super robotic, which means that you can use automations and feel okay about them sending out and not have to manually approve everything.
Perfect. Talking about robotics. let's pull into this conversation AI and how much AI has becoming a part of integrations and automations. Have you had the chance to use it? What do you think about it? What do you recommend to people?
Oh, that's a great question. I've used it a little bit, and honestly, I use it for some clients in some industries that I haven't worked with, if you will. Like I'll pop in what are some workflow steps that this industry might overthink, that kind of thing. It's a great tool for new photographers to use if they're like, okay, I need a client experience. What does that mean? Pop it into AI. What does a good client experience for X look like? Can you help me write an email to deliver these nurture steps, right? And so use it in that aspect. Absolutely. Again, tweak it so that it sounds like you and your brand voice. There are so many tools out there built for larger companies that incorporate more AI than tools that are built for smaller companies, right?
Yeah.
And so some of those AI pieces are available in larger CRMs than they are in smaller CRMs. And so I've worked with them in some cases. I think it's great to a point that it's not until it becomes a detriment. You know what I mean? And until it starts to sound robotic and it starts to sound artificial. Because one thing about being a photographer is that you want to have that connection with your clients. That's how you capture those incredible photos, is by building that connection. And I think that that connection is something that only you as a human can build and infuse into so much of your client experience and workflow, and that a robot, while it can help you build pieces of that, just can't quite capture that. Can't quite create that.
Love it. Can you find any disadvantages of working with workflows?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. First of all, what happens if your client sends you a question and it's not built into your workflow, or you didn't have room for it, right? Or what happens if your inquiry asks a question and your first automated email doesn't cover it? What do you do then? Oh, shoot, that was an automation that misfired, right? What happens if your client wants a one-off project for something that you normally do and you don't have a workflow built for it? You run it manually, right? There is a certain point, and again, a lot of this comes back to customizing for your brand and your voice and things like that, but there's a certain point where too much is automated and too much feels like it's automated. You want to have a hand in some things as well too, and you want to be able to work your workflows and not have them run you, if you will. By the time we wrapped up our wedding photography business, I had things automated and systemized so much that I was working maybe 5 hours a week behind the scenes in our business. maybe an hour a week in my CRM and in client communications and things like that, which was fantastic. But it also meant that as clients were like filling out forms and giving us feedback and those kinds of things, that I wasn't thinking about it and missing it, if you will, because it was all automated.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is something that you've automated to your clients often, or even to, in your own business, that people don't think about as using an automation?
Boy, again, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. That happy wedding week email and that day after email, I would stuff those full of custom fields. A custom field is like a little snippet of text, right? That you can tie to something your client fills out. But those would be all automated. And so it would read like, hey, newlyweds, you had the best day ever. Our favorite moment was your hand fasting ceremony or your whatever it was. It was just such an utterly Shannon and Jason moment. And we loved it so much. It made your day the whole everything that it was. It was just a perfect moment. Your photos will be done in 12 weeks. So right around December 26th, so on and so forth, right? That sounds like a personal email that I took the time to write, but I didn't actually write any of it because it was all custom fields that I had filled out in my CRM, right? The same thing with the happy wedding week email. All those details were custom fields. So it looked like I sat there and took the time to like spend 25, 30 minutes writing out this email, but it was all fields that I filled out in my CRM that the email template then pulled in. That's the trick to a lot of that, right? Those were still my favorite things that I love to do.
That's great. I feel like that's definitely underutilized on CRMs. I can probably use some more myself. Fields are great. And I feel like, but you have to think ahead and plan those maybe questionnaires where you're going to be grabbing that information from, or, some fields on your lead form and places like that, where you're going to be using that information that your client themselves entered. So you're not saying something that doesn't really mean something to them or is a generic term, and you're entering that into your email template. So
absolutely. If you're going to use them, you have to actually use them also, because if you don't, your emails are going to read real weird, and nobody wants that to happen.
Perfect. Anything else that you want to share with us to wrap things up as a tip or something for people to think about and consider when it comes to their business?
I would say start small and start before you're ready. Again, this goes back to new business owners and systems and workflows. You might think that you don't need a CRM because you only have 5 clients and you know exactly what you need to do. I encourage you to build out your CRM and to build your workflows, knowing that as your business grows and as your business changes, those workflows are going to grow and change as well, and that they should. Anytime your prices change, anytime your branding changes, anytime the way you do business changes, your workflow should be changed, right? But start small because you can always add to them. That would be my biggest tip, honestly. Start small.
It's awesome. Melissa, where can people find you if they want to use your services and take their business to the next level?
Sure. I am on Instagram and the web and Facebook at Virtually Done Systems. That's my website and my Instagram, everything like that. I live mainly on Instagram, but you can find me on Facebook as well too.
Perfect. We definitely put that on the show notes for you guys. Melissa, thank you so much for all the amazing tips and the great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening to the Accidental CEO podcast. And we'll come back to you next week with more amazing tips to help you fall in love with the business side of your business. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nada Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.